Hello friends, welcome back to Value Vintage Cards. I wanted to go ahead and just share some of my Grover Cleveland Alexander collection. I've added a piece or two in the last several months. I don't have a whole lot. He kind of falls into that perfect storm of era where he does not have a T206 and he does not have a Gaudi. So I feel like you get kind of pinched in that in-between phase where it's a lot of strip cards, it's some caramel cards, some postcards as I'm showing now, and I think because of that, and the other factor I think is his team change, with him changing teams, so having some St. Louis time, some Philadelphia time, some Chicago time. I think that also leads to him not necessarily having a strong enough fan base, so he doesn't get recognized. He might not be Mount Rushmore worthy for any of those teams, but his career is ridiculous. He has the same amount of wins as Christy Mathewson. And if you look at his stats, I mean, Triple Crowns, ERA titles, enormous amount of wins, some personal demons, so a little bit of a interesting story as well, which seems to be kind of par for the course of a lot of these historic players. But just definitely amazing career and really, really cool cards. So I'm just going to run through a few of these cards now. 1921 exhibits. So the postcard size, for anyone that does not like oversized, thank you for keeping that affordable for me. Absolutely love that item. I think the ability to see like full-size image. When you look at the smaller cards, you kind of get an idea of maybe what the player looks like. When you look at something larger like this, I mean, you get detail on like his shoes. So if you want to get an idea of what the players were wearing back in the day, you get to take a little better close-up look at their hand or their glove, even just the way the uniform was wore. How did they wear their pants? In comparison to what we see today with looks like sweatpants or something running around on the field. So very different, but for me that's a really, really cool piece, and really glad I got to add that to the collection. Next up is one that I've had. I'm going to pair it with one that I just snagged. If you want to go strip cards, I think that's a cool way to pair them, because you can go, they're both W516s. These get crazy, and the way they're labeled is maybe even more insane. But you've got these -1, -2, -2, -1, the one is just labeled -1 by SGC. So trying to keep all of that straight and going down the rabbit hole of what W516 series, you'll see names below, you'll see names above, you'll see just different crazy variations. They're all kind of in this hand-cut world where you're probably going to get an authentic grade on it no matter what, and if you don't, it's because like this that's actually a really nice clean card. Maybe they should have cut another small fraction of a centimeter higher and they would have gotten a 5 on that card. It's just, to me, it's crazy. But what I really want to focus on with these that I think is really neat, if you look at that, look at his jersey. So it says Chicago, as you would expect, because he was pitching for Chicago at that time. And you look at this one, and you look at his jersey, and you'll notice it says Chicago in reverse. I love that. And I think I like it even more when I can find like the partner to it. So you get basically the exact same image in reverse. You see his head tilt just slightly a different way. The writing, the glove, what does Grover Cleveland Alexander look like as a lefty versus a righty? Now you can no longer imagine it. So kind of cool just to see those side by side. Strip cards can be interesting when you get into some of the finer points of them like that. Next up, I'm going to reshare, because I have shared my Rover Alexander, and I bought that because I absolutely loved that image. I thought that was just one of the nicer looking, it's a 25 to 31 W590 issue, but just that image, nice vibrant cubs. You could see his hand, nice close up where you could see his face, but one did just come up where I was able to upgrade it to a much nicer, authentic. Again, collect the card, not the slab, of course, but you'll notice on the right, obviously it's been trimmed a bit too close. We don't want it to be Rover Alexander. We want Grover Alexander if possible. He plays for Chicago versus Chicago. They just barely made the NL on there, so you can kind of tell where they sniped it too close. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Rover will be on the market. To some degree, I kind of like having a Rover. But, when budget is a thing and collecting is the goal, having two of the same, even though it's fun to have a Rover, is maybe not going to be a sustainable practice. Next, 1921. So there are caramel options. E121. If you notice, a lot of these he's with Chicago. If I have my choice, I prefer to get them with a team that I somewhat follow, but a lot of these players, you don't get the choice. So that's actually a nice clean one. That's a pretty solid 1921 E121. I like the E121s a lot because the image is enormous. So you do get a much better picture of what the player looked like and accurate kind of image of them. The next one is a 1920s. It's a universal toy. If I recall, when I looked up the population of this, I think there was like 8 graded. And all of them are an A. So for anyone that is, kind of number obsessed or prefers to have a number, I guess this is the crossroads of your decision making of, do I want this card or not? Because a number on it is not a choice. So for me, I'm super fine with A's all day long. Lots of my cards are A's. A is awesome. A is not offensive, especially with something like this. I'm not sure what all would have to be included for that to not be an A, and since there's none that aren't A's, they're blank backs, they're cut off boxes. When you get these hand cut kind of items, I don't know what you want. But to me, that was just cool. There's some big dollar guys in that set. Grover, for whatever reason, just is overlooked. He is almost considered like a second tier until you look at his statistics and you're like, geez, this guy should be super inner circle. He's amazing. Mid-2s ERA, just everything. I mean, from outstanding seasons to longevity, he has all the boxes checked. Should really be probably at far more of a premium, but he's not. He lags way behind Walter Johnson and Christy Mathewson and obviously Ruth Cobb, Wagner, Gehrig, all those kinds of players. He's far more affordable. So for me, maybe that's an area to explore and dive into a little bit deeper. But that's what I have. I think if that's not all of my collection for Grover, that's most of. But I just wanted to kind of document, share a few things, a couple newer pickups, and just a couple of cool cards with Grover in the collection. So wishing everyone a good day. As I'm recording this and about to release it, it is New Year's Eve, so happy New Year's Eve to everybody. Wishing everybody a wonderful next year. If you're seeing this in the next year, hope your day is awesome, and I'll catch up with you all later. Take care.